Welcome back to another gameplay video. Today we are looking at my second game in the Take the Initiative online Discord League. And this time I decided to switch decks. Let me check real quick, what date was this recorded? This was recorded the 10th of July. And I played Krennic. This deck is heavily inspired from a list that Dylan posted. He is a previous Take the Initiative League winner, Top Cut winner, and this deck is, as you can see, mostly the same Krennic shell we saw from the ECL versions playing last season, but now we have a lot of new cards that we can utilize, and let's look at those. First of all, we have some of my favorite blue villainy cards, Dr. Pershing and the Client. So Dr. Pershing is a 0/5 that can deal 1 damage to your friendly unit to draw a card. This is really nice because in more control decks you need cards to deal with your opponent's threats. But this can also work really well together with Krennic because he can damage units, and each friendly damaged unit gets +1/+0. So that's a really nice combo. Pershing itself can be a 1/4 the turn after you play it. That's also not the worst, but the card draw is why it's there. The Client is a 2/5 that's shielded and can give a bounty. So with this deck playing a lot of removal and us wanting to trade quite a lot against more aggressive decks, that bounty can often be very viable for us to kind of go for. And then we have some other new cards. We have the Gamorrean Retainer. That's just a card we can play for 2 early on, but we have some green units that can give this card Sentinel as well. And for Sentinel we also have the Phase 3 Dark Trooper, basically just the upgraded Cellblock card. And we have some other new cards. Rival's Fall. That's a Vanquish that can also target leaders for 1 more. And then we have a very interesting card, Supreme Leader Snoke. That's a card that when it got spoiled I was a little bit negative. I thought, oh, this costs 8, doesn't really have that much of an impact. But giving -2 can very often just finish off some damaged units, and that is immediate impact, and it can kind of also suppress other threats. So I think it's a good card. I don't know if playing 3 is correct, but it's what I've been experimenting with right here. And then I added a top target for a little bit more healing. And in the sideboard we have another one of those, make an opening to deal with, for instance, the new lurking TIE Phantom. And we have the 3-cost Sentinel in space to deal with space threats, so we can bring that in with Darth Vader. And then we have 2 what's it called again? Is it Relentless? No, I need to check. Yeah, Relentless. And Palpatine's Return to kind of try to suppress those very event-heavy control decks. Alright, I think that's enough about the list. Let's just go right into the game. Let me see here. Yes, there we are. Okay, so I'm playing a... Sabine Yellow was it? Yeah. In the previous video I said Sabine Red, but it's yellow actually. So 30 health base means we're probably not going to be able to race here, but we have the restore, so we kind of just need to stabilize, clear the board, and of course kill them with our units before they reach their for a cause I believe in and so forth. So we have a okay opening hand. I say okay because we only have 1 2-cost, so that's kind of limiting. But we have maybe the most important card in this matchup, and that's the Star Viper. Being able to use that with Energy Conversion Lab, deal with a space unit, still have yours survive and stay there, and maybe even get the restore too if you have the initiative. That's just amazing against these aggro decks. So we draw another takedown. That's pretty nice, especially to deal with Sabine the moment she deploys. Right now I just go base with the Gamorrean retainer because we want to see what our opponent plays before we decide if we should go to ground or space. And here we have a clear winner who gets the Star Viper smashed in the face, and that's red 3. And our Star Viper survives. So now the board state is looking pretty good for us. Okay, so we draw Rival's Fall, a lot of removal here. I think resourcing Dr. Pershing here kind of makes sense. It's not that good to play right now. It might have been nice to play next turn, but the card draw is not that important in this matchup compared to more grindy matchups. So here I just trade with the Star Viper, go base with Retainer, and then hope that they're going to deploy Sabine so we can just play Takedown. And here we are kind of in a tricky situation. We could pass, then they could deploy Sabine, and then we take down Sabine. But we still have to deal with that spaceships one time or another, so I'm just gonna take down the spaceship so I can take initiative. Because if I would have taken down Sabine, they would have claimed the initiative. And now we at least got that going. The resupply would have been nice earlier to get Krennic going earlier and get that restore, but it's not that good of a card against aggro. So it's easy resource here. And then since we have the initiative, we can just take down Sabine immediately. Then we get even more space cards. So our opponent luckily doesn't have more space units to play, for instance like a Falcon. So they play for a cause, only hitting 3. That's also good for us. And it looks like they are going to discard all the cards but the Falcon. And now they've used all the resources, so we're just gonna hit base for 5, restore 2, and go to next turn. Devastator here, cost 10, and therefore is not a card we're gonna see play this matchup. So that's an easy resource. So we got to hit base with Krennic. We know that our opponent has the Millennium Falcon. So right now we're just waiting for them to play it so we can Rival's Fall and mitigate that 4 points of damage. And right now it looks, I would say, okay, because Krennic is really doing work restoring for us, and that Overwhelming Barrage is an amazing top deck. Being able to use it on either Krennic or the Gamorrean Retainer and just deal with space somehow, that's really nice. Okay, we see the Surprise Strike coming in for 7. That's quite a lot. So even though we got to kind of deal with all of our opponent's threats, you can see how scary this matchup is. Here I decide to use it on the Retainer because if I would use it on Krennic, I could get really punished by this exhaust here. So now I at least get that 5 damage swing. The question is, should I go 5 to base or kill Leia? That's no clear answer on that question. I have 2 more resources, so I could play Pershing. Doesn't really help me. But our opponent has 2 units right now, so I'm hoping I'm gonna get one way to deal with the other and just kind of try to win the game next turn. I don't really draw anything good here, so it might have been a mistake, but we'll see. Right now our opponent has 5 power on the board, and then we kind of get punished, but also not. We were very lucky that they didn't have a Surprise Strike or anything that would leave Leia on the board, because since Leia was removed, our Power of the Dark Side could actually take out the A-Wing. And here we are in a difficult situation, because either we kill K2, or they get initiative and just kill us with K2. So right now I'm kind of digging for answers, just dealing 1 damage to the retainer to draw a card. The question is, should it be to the retainer or Krennic? Like now the retainer is 4 power, but now if we would like play a sentinel, if we would play a green unit and the retainer would get sentinel, the K2 could just overwhelm and kill itself, getting the extra 3 damage. So maybe that wasn't that smart to do, but we will see. So our opponent plays another unit. The good thing is we can restore 2 with Krennic, so the 4 damage from K2 is not going to be enough in 1 action. But now, as I said, since we did the damage to the retainer, K2 can just attack into it. So now I basically force myself to kill K2. So that's going to be what I have to do. The thing is, I really want my opponent not to use Sabine, because if they use Sabine, get the 3 damage from K2 and the 2 damage from their space unit, that's 6 damage. And that should be... wait, 6? Yeah. I think if they ping, then I'm in trouble. That's all you need to know. So here, hopefully, they claim. Yeah, and they do. So that means we can go base, and then now we're only 4 away from getting the win. And with the Death Trooper we can clear out K2. And as you see, now we're on 22. If they would have pinged, we would have been on 23. And then the spaceship could have killed us in their first action. So that won us the game. Unless our opponent gets a buff, of course. But if I remember correctly, they did not. So that was a very, very close game. Even though Krennic got to live and heal a lot for us, you can see Sabine has a lot of aggression, as we know from the first set, but now also with some new cards. And then onto the sideboard, I'm just taking out all of the expensive units, so taking out the Snokes, taking out the spaceships, I mean the Star Destroyers, and adding in those 3 Black Sun Starfighters, or what they're called. That's gonna be very, very nice to kind of deal with the space threat. So here I'm thinking about like my last card to side out. Rivals Fall actually did something useful this previous game, but I still think there are better cards, and now when we've added in making openings, the Sentinel in space, top target, I think it's okay only to play 1 Rivals Fall. And then the last card we took out was a Vader, so now we only have 2 Vaders in the list. Okay, we got a, I would say, pretty decent start, because when you have Power of the Dark Side, you can just claim the first turn and just play Power of the Dark Side to kill whatever they play. So I think I'm not gonna risk doing a mulligan here. I'm just keeping this hand. And with Power of the Dark Side, having 2 is really good, because when you play 1, you empty the board, and then you can just do the same thing again, regardless of what they play. So here we have a lot of good 3-cost cards. I decide to actually resource the only ground sentinel. And believe it or not, I decided not to play Power of the Dark Side because I had something to ambush and have it survive. So I don't know if that's the right play, but now I at least got a unit on the board, and that could pay off. I don't have my energy conversion lab anymore though, so if I, for instance, would need a let's say a steadfast battalion play to kill Sabine later, then I'm not able to do that anymore. But now I at least got to push some damage on the base, but I have no answer for Sabine. And let's say they would have, yeah, something like a wing leader. Not much I can do about that Sabine right now. So I'm gonna take 5 to the base, and my power of the dark side is not looking that good anymore. Here it's very hard to know what to play. We are on 5. We only have 1 2-cost card. Like space units could be nice, like for instance, the Star Viper that can restore a little bit for us. But it's also hard to say what to attack with the Black Sun Starfighter. I decide to kill the bounty, so I at least get to draw a card. I would say that actually paid off, because now I have a play that's, I think, better than playing 2 spaceships. So now I can use Overwhelming Barrage and Krennic to at least kill Sabine, so she doesn't hit me for 5 the next turn as well. As you can see, I'm already on 17 damage, so that wing leader into Fleet Lieutenant is very, very hard to deal with. So I'm doing 1 to the wing leader, and then 4 to Sabine, and then killing Sabine and restoring 2 with Krennic. So it's not looking that good. We have taken 15 damage on the base already, and Krennic can now be killed, so we're probably not gonna see that much more restore coming in from him. But we got Power of the Dark Side, which can deal with the X-Wing. We got Make an Opening, which can heal us a little bit. And we have the Client that might be able to give us a bounty to save us. Yeah, so we're gonna see our opponent doing a trade here. I'm just gonna use Power of the Dark Side to save that 2 points of damage. Then we have R2-D2. So here I'm actually playing the Star Viper. That's because I know our opponent wants to do more actions, and hence we will get the 2 restore. And I think that's going to be easier to get value from compared to the Client. It might be correct to actually play the Client, so we could, let's say now, do a bounty and then use Power of the Dark Side. That would be amazing. But our opponent could also kind of counter that play with just playing another unit. So we use Power of the Dark Side, getting rid of that R2, but now K2 coming out, just an amazing card. The fact that it will always provide 3 damage at least is just so good. So we at least got to restore with the Star Viper, but we lost the initiative now, so we're not gonna have that for the next turn. Rival's Fall can be helpful to get that bounty from the Client, but our opponent has the initiative, and yeah, they have Fleet Lieutenant, gonna do 5 to base. So I could Rival's Fall now, then we'll only take 3 from K2, but then we're not gonna be able to claim any bounty this turn. So in order to maybe be able to get that bounty, I decide to use Make an Opening. So K2 will just hit for 2 now, but then we can use the Client and the Death Trooper to kill K2 and get that 5 health. But we're gonna see if that's enough. I'm guessing probably not. So here you can tell I'm thinking about how to sequence this. I could just play Death Trooper now killing K2, not being attacked back. But then I wouldn't really get anything out of the client this turn. So I decide to go for the bounty play. Then healing 5 and taking 3. So effectively healing 2. Our opponent has 3 resources left. They claim. That means again we're not gonna restore from the Star Viper. So maybe it would have been better to play the Death Trooper. No, but then they would still claim regardless then. So we don't get the restore. Sabine hits our base for 3 here. We are kind of forced to deal with that Fleet Lieutenant. But it looks like I'm gonna go for the Sentinel play just to kind of make my opponent waste their actions. But they have it for a cause, and they hit for heroism cards, so that's game. I mean, that was actually pretty close. If they didn't have for a cause there, my Sentinel would have blocked the Fleet Lieutenant. I could have given Sabine a bounty with the client, killed it with the Death Trooper, maybe stabilized, but that's hard to say. So we're gonna have to go to game 3 and see how that works out. Here we have a similar opening hand to the previous game, with the power of the dark side. As you can see, I didn't side out the reinforcement walker. That's because sometimes the game actually drags out to like 8 and 9 resource turns, and then just being able to heal 3 can save you. That's why it's in there, but it's an easy resource now when you get it in your opening hand. So here I pass, kind of a telegraph play that I want to do something like play a bounty on the unit or something like that, but then they would have gotten the attack in, and I just want to be safe and get my power of the dark side play. So, oh, actually, yeah, I top decked again. Got that Star Viper, and that's just an amazing reaction to the A-Wing. So, able to heal and able to keep the initiative. So, even though they ping me now, I can just heal that off. And here, another great top deck. Now I don't have to trade my Star Viper anymore, I can just play takedown. So that's great. I actually decide to resource top target. I don't know if that's correct, because that healing could be very, very beneficial. But I want to keep both my, or all of my removal cards with Power of the Dark Side, Overwhelming Rush, and Takedown. And I think maybe resourcing Steadfast would have been better, because I've already used Energy Conversion Lab, so I'm not going to get any value from that. But since Sabine is deploying here, I'm at least going to be able to keep the initiative and continue getting value from that Star Viper, so that's probably been the MVP already, healing so much. And here, I resource the battalion, makes sense. Gonna go for Overwhelming Barrage. And I think, if I remember correctly, I forgot that I got +1 attack from the damage on the Star Viper. So I'm thinking just 5 in my head right now, killing Sabine. But then my opponent reminds me I have one more, and then I'm like, okay, I would rather than kill the fleet, dealing 3 on Sabine, because then if my opponent doesn't have any buff, I can just clear Sabine with the Krennic deploy. So Sabine's gonna hit my base for 3. I'm gonna deploy Krennic. And luckily for me, no wing leader or anything like that. And they played a spaceship, which I can just kill with the Star Viper. So this game right now is going amazing for me. And Krennic just taking 2 damage makes it very likely that he's gonna stick. And now I have so much removal in my hand. I even decide to... Okay, I take it back. I didn't resource the Rive's Fall. can be very useful if they play something with I mean, Power of the Dark Side is better regardless here because the board's empty, but still good to have as a backup. So just gonna continue removing their units, healing with Krennic, and luckily they don't have anything else to play, so now getting out the client just puts even a bigger lock on the game. With how much I've healed this game already, this looks very, very good. It's going to be interesting to see if Sabine Yellow is going to be a meta deck. It was very good in the previous set, I would say, like one of the fastest decks. But now we have new decks like double Cunning Lando, which can be very, very fast as well, being able to smuggle in cards for cheap. But I think Sabine's gonna stay relevant. Yeah, so here that Rival's Fall is gonna help out, killing the 5/5 and restoring 5 health for us. Right now we're on 0 damage on the base against Sabine on 8 resources. That's absurd. So you really see the power of the client and of course the Star Viper together with Energy Commercial Lab. So this deck, if drawing the right cards, can really handle aggro. But it's a card game, so we can always go both ways. Yeah, just playing in Inferno 4, looking at what I'm going to draw, and looks like I'm gonna do the Inferno 4 on the bottom and the Vader on the top. Outmaneuver, we've seen that card before against the Gar yellow deck. If you haven't seen that video, check it out. It's a very heavy space deck. Very interesting to play against. So here I think our Sabine is kind of just tired playing out tiny units, knowing that the game's pretty much over. And now with the Star Viper being able to restore 2, it's just GG. Getting to draw a card from the bounty as well. And here we have many options. We could do Vader to kind of find a Sentinel, but I'm just gonna do the little bit more of a aggressive play. Play the Gideon Hask to buff up our units more, and there we go, our opponent concedes. So that was a quite fun best of 3. We won with a lot of restore, or thanks to a lot of restore. And yeah, I will, if you guys like these commentary videos on my Take the Initiative games, I might be able to record all 8 of them. So in the Take the Initiative League you play 8 games, and then if you have gotten enough points you can qualify for a top 16 top cut. So let me know if you find that interesting, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye bye.